camera with us so that we can see how the balance trail works for riders. So I want to thank you all for participating. As I said, if somebody doesn't want to be on camera, that's fine. You can stay back there. Anybody who does, just please come down into the arena. So we've set up a balance trail and we've got a lot of different objects. Oh, that's right, we're doing it that way. I was like, they've changed order. And what we're going to do is we're going to run it from this end of the arena toward where you guys are now. So if you just want to come around. And what I've done is used a variety of items. And the whole idea here is to have different sensory experiences that challenge your balance. And we're looking to see how people respond to that and then to improve how they can go through the balance trail in a way that's really stable and secure. But the first thing I do is have them go through without any information. So if you have done the balance trail before, and I know a couple of you have, if you would wait to the end, that would be great. And anybody who's never done the balance trail before, you guys can go first, okay? And so the idea is, Ellie, you might as well lead off, okay? So what you do is you come to the first object, and I might have to spread it out a little bit more because it looks like it might be a little close. But you just come to the first object and just stand on that, 1 foot on each, okay? And just notice what it feels like, okay? And then I'm actually going to start spreading this out a little bit more. And then you go and you stand on the next one. And there's varying degrees of difficulty all along the trail. As you go through, you might find, wow, I really like this one, and I really don't like that one. Okay, so that's fine. That's one of the ideas here, is to find out what you like. And the other thing is whether or not you try to anticipate how the object is going to respond, right? So go to the next one, and I'm just going to spread out the back of this trail, okay? And if anything's difficult, you don't have to stay there, just go on, okay? So it's not about trying to make yourself stabilize, it's just to notice, wow, that one was more difficult, this one, I get to take a breath, okay? So I'm just going to widen out this trail a little bit more so that as we go through, let me make it a little bit wider, we can have more than one person on the trail without you kind of staring at the back of somebody else. All right. Yep, and you can skip anything that you're not sure about, okay? So there's no requirement here for you to stand on any of the objects, and Ellie was nice enough to go first because then we get to see, oh, maybe I hadn't anticipated, and of course we're going to have a cat help us. Maybe I hadn't anticipated how that one was going to feel. And those of you watching, as people are going through the trail, notice how they react, right? Notice just, is there any pattern to their response from the different objects? And I can't say more than that right now, because just like yesterday with the canter, when I said pay attention to something, everybody changed, right? So I can't even say what I'm talking about, just observe, right? You can go ahead and get started. Okay. Yeah. And on this blue disc, Allie, if you wouldn't mind just staying near it, just on this side to spot people when they're on that one. Yeah, because that one's really challenging because both feet are on the same object. Okay. Yep. And when Jasmine gets to the red discs, Cheryl can start. So we're looking for repeating patterns. Yep. Yep, and you can skip it if you want to. The other thing is, if you want to step on the ground between objects, that's totally fine. This is not like a hot rock trail, okay? You can step on the ground, you can, take a moment before you go on. I'm just going to fix this pad for you. There we go. Yep. Yeah. And again, for those of you, woo! You okay there? Yeah. Okay, now you want to step on the ground before you do the next one. Well, I think you want to step on the ground first, yeah. Right, and then, yep, step off and go on. So you remember we talked about shoulders this morning? And we talked about how shoulders are often an expression of a balance, not the cause of a balance. So that was an interesting example of that, right? We are designed to catch ourselves, to save ourselves. And we're going to use our arms, if need be, to catch ourselves. So if we focus too much on the arms as the cause of a riding issue, we may be missing the real source of the problem. Good idea, Cheryl. There's no harm in skipping anything. Right? And why don't you go on, because there's a lot of shaking going on there, Susan. So we don't want to fatigue you, right? That's not the point of the trail. And then once, let's see, the end of the line is Tiffany. Okay, great. So we've got a few more people to go through. And it's an automatic, isn't it? It's not a conscious thought. You know, our nervous system is going to do something to help improve our balance. If you think about tightrope walkers, they have a big, long pole, and there's a reason for that. And right, to help with balance. And if you've ever watched, like, figure skaters, to go faster, they draw their arms in, and to slow down, they put their arms out. So our arms are there to help us with our balance. When we think about that for riding, right, if we see somebody that's having a lot of tension on the reins or really leaning on the reins, maybe it's because they're not in balance, and we need to address their balance and their stability rather than telling them to stop pulling on their horse's mouth. Elza is going to make sure she can get that one done. So this is one of the things that's so much fun about the trail, is that we can see how different people negotiate a problem. Whether that's, I'm going to make sure I get it done, or maybe I'll come back later, or this one makes me nervous. We get to see kind of how each of us addresses a question about our balance, right? A question about our stability. Yeah. And so again, you guys that are watching, because you were through the trail first, just notice if you see any kind of repeating patterns in the people that are going through now. And I can't say it yet, but there is one repeating pattern that we've seen just about everybody do. Okay? And it's a normal thing to do.
Is it looking down?
Yes. It's totally normal to look down. And you know, when we're on a horse, that has a lot more meaning, because when we look down, our horse is focusing down, and if we're jumping, we can wind up at the base of the jump, right? Unintentionally. But it's a normal response by the nervous system to help us with balance. And I'm just going to grab something that we might use with a few people to make that a little better. I'm just going to have it in my pocket. So, you know, when we get told to look up, my first question is, why are you looking down? What is it that your nervous system is experiencing that makes you want to look down at your feet or at the ground? You don't do it just to do it to make your instructor's life miserable, right? It's your internal system reacting to the environment and saying, I need to look at where my feet are. And that's okay. And the question is, why do you need to look down to see where your feet are? That's really the bigger question. And I'm just going to set up for the next part. you watching, you probably saw a bunch of different patterns, right? You might have seen some consistency. One of the consistent patterns is looking down. Another consistent pattern was arms, when we could see things starting to go out of balance. Yeah, and you can see exactly. You're trying to really figure out how to negotiate this. So when we think about being in the saddle, we've talked about how the stirrup is a pendulum. And if we put too much pressure into the heel, we're going to pendulum our base forward, and then we're going to have to do something about that in reaction to the fact that our base went forward, right? When you guys are standing there, you're pretty much putting your base underneath you. But when we start to feel unstable, there's some patterns that are kind of typical that people do, and we're going to make them more obvious here. So once Tiffany has finished the trail, I'm going to start with Allie again, and we're going to do a little test of stability. Yep. That one is the hardest one, and you know, that one I can vary how difficult by how much air I put in it, because it's variable. But again, you can notice the sort of protective mechanism that we have, which is good. Like if our brain did not do a protective mechanism, we would fall down and hit our head a lot, right? The problem is when we're on a horse, if we're leaving that horse and we do a protective mechanism, we could break our arms. You know, it's hard for us to override our innate reflexes that say, I need to catch myself. All right, Allie, so you're going to step on the first one. So now I'm going to add a force. What is a force? It's a push, right? And I'm going to find out how stable she is. Okay, and so now go to the next one. And I'm going to do this with each person, so whoever is next, you get to come on, right? And so what I'm doing right now is I am now influencing, you are the horse being influenced by the rider, okay? And the rider is moving, right? The force, and suddenly that's good. What have we proven? Sorry, I should have my mask up that close. Sorry. That you're not stable, right? And that's what we're here to figure out. Is your habitual way of accommodating the unstable surface, and that's the most stable, right? Okay, you can rest. Thanks. Yep, we're just going to do a few with this. It doesn't take much to prove that you're not stable, right? Okay, so we have a solution here of overfolding, but if the force switches quickly or is more unstable, she can't accommodate it, right? So we have habitual patterns of how we deal with that, and then when they don't work, what do we do? Does that make sense? So the more unstable the surface, the less your solution works. Mm-hmm. So what we're going to need is another solution. Okay, but I got to tell everybody this. So next, we're just going to all come around, and I'm going to push on you. We're just going to go over these first four objects. We're going to see how stable you are. So this is what I think of as the disillusionment phase, right? On our own, we think we're okay. The horse in the field is okay. You put the weight of a rider on the horse, and suddenly, why is he running away or falling or not doing what I ask? Because he's unstable. Next, right? Why is the rider doing something I didn't ask? Why is she flailing with her arms? Next, because she's not feeling secure, right? And then the question becomes, what do we need to do differently to be secure, right? I don't even have to touch her anymore, do I? Right? I just have to like pretend, and look, we've got the smile, the tension, right? Jasmine can't wear a mask, so we're all okay with that. But we get the tension, the smile, the nervous laughter. That's vagus nerve saying, danger, danger, I don't feel safe, right? And then we start anticipating, don't we? Great, you can rest. We start anticipating that I'm going to push on you, and that just makes it worse. Because what your nervous system recognizes is, I am not safe, okay? And then it's a question of, how do we react to that? Some people get more nervous, insecure, hold their breath. Other people want to punch me, right? They want to fight. So just like the horses, you get fight and flight, you'll get freeze. People are like, I can't do this, right? That's good, we've proven you're unstable. Yeah. Next. So we get the same kind of reactions to insecurity and lack of balance that the horses have. It's no different. Vagus is vagus, right? The vagal nerve response of I don't feel safe is the same in horses and humans. We just cover it with all kinds of lovely things and stories and examples of ways that we can, right? And I'm not pushing hard, am I?
No.
I'm really not pushing hard, right? Because those of you watching, you probably think, well, I'm just shoving as hard as I can.
We're not trying to go against your force. We're not trying.
You're trying to do whatever you can to resist being pushed over.
Well, because I know you're going to push me.
Yes, right. And the more you watch me, it's just like if you've ever been in a show where somebody's jumping and you've watched somebody miss a fence and the next 5 people do the same mistake because they've been watching it, right? And so here you're watching me push on each person and you're like, I'm going to see if I can come up with a solution.
That was my solution.
Right? And we're going to come up with our habitual solution.
That's my solution.
Right? Because we don't have another option. This is our habit of how we defend ourselves against the horse being quick or fast, right?
I thought I had the answer.
Exactly. And until you feel that you don't, you think you're okay, right? So then what happens is you're on the horse and something happens and you go to your habitual response and it doesn't work. And now what do? Right? Now you panic because what I thought was going to work isn't working. The horse is going faster. He's running toward the road. I'm going to die. And now I'm pulling like crazy and hoping to hell I can stop this horse because I'm really terrified. Right? Because our choices are limited and they're not effective. But we don't know they're not effective until they're challenged. So what I'm doing right now is just disillusioning you guys into thinking you're okay. You know, when horses accelerate and decelerate. So the push from the back, right, that's a deceleration. The horse slamming on the brakes. The push from the front is the horse accelerating. Okay?
I can't remember what we did in Costa Rica.
I agree that you can't remember. That's fine. We'll put it back in. Okay? And so you can see when I'm going to push very slowly, right?
I'm going to resist.
Yes, but where does Jennifer go?
Forward.
And up.
So I should go down.
Up. Right? So don't change it for right now, okay? If we go up, what's happened to our center of mass? Or it's come up. Are we more stable or less stable as it comes up? Less. So anybody who's stiffened and braced against the pads as I push has made themselves less stable. But that's our reaction, right? For some strange reason, our reaction is to stiffen and brace and push. And as we push, it raises us up and makes us more vulnerable. And now when you think about, you're good. Yep. Okay. If we push against the stirrup, what's going to happen there? That's right, we're going to put the feet forward, our head's going to go forward, and now everything's forward, and the horse is on the forehand, and he's running faster, right? Because we've put him there in our desire to stop, we've pushed our feet forward, pulled back on the reins, pitched forward, loaded the forehand, and he can't stop, right? The nervous laugh, you can't see it, there's crinkles in the eyes, right?
Yep.
And because we know innately when we're secure.
I thought she was going to get it.
She's close. She's close, right? And I can't say what's going on right now because if I say it, she'll try and change it, right? And of course, the higher up, like I'm pushing on your upper back and chest because I'm taking advantage of the lever, right? But when we're holding the reins and we stiffen our shoulders and tense, we're creating a really long lever, right? It's all the way, the lever is all the way from our feet to our shoulders. And so the longer the lever, the easier it is to knock you over with less force. She's got her hands in her pockets. Close, very close.
Now I don't have my hands in my pocket. Now I got to get it.
Yeah. Huh. Okay, so now we're going to challenge her on a more unstable surface. why. There's a reason why she's looking up.
That gives her a different center, it doesn't move.
Nope. It's a result. It's not a cause. The looking up is a result, not a cause. Nope, it's not thinking. Rest. Awesome. Good job. You'll see it in a minute. You'll see it in a minute. But that's the thing is, this is where when we're told to look up, if the base hasn't become more secure, it's a false action. It's just doing something somebody told us. It's not a result of being in balance. Does that make sense? So, you know, we're looking down, we're feeling unstable, and then they yell, "You look up." Right? And it hasn't improved the situation because, yeah, Tiffany's been on this trail a few times, which is why I put them at the end, because you're already watching and changing what you're going to do the next time through. Right? The looking up is a result, not a cause. And so when somebody's looking down, my question is why? Now, there are times when I need to do something to shift that habit so that all the dominoes can fall into place, but just telling somebody to look up isn't going to get it done. Okay? Yeah. Yep. There was a little tiny, she felt it, a little tiny weakness in there. Yeah. And you can see when this upper body starts to hinge back, that's when she's not stable. Okay? All right, where's Allie? Great, you're up. So now we're going to solve it for everybody. Okay, because just, I have to give you the opportunity on your own. Then I have to disillusion you in what you thought was okay. And now I get to show you how to do it. Okay? So I'm going to step on there. Okay? Bend the knees a little bit. Okay? Tiny fold over my front hand. Awesome. What just happened to your back?
Flat.
It filled out. Okay? Let your hips sink back a little. Think sit. Great. Nope, not tuck. Just sit. Sit.
Okay.
When I push, awesome. Did I have to tell her to look up? No. Do we have an ear, shoulder, hip, ankle line? Yes. Next. It's a result of the stability of the base. And again, if I need to do something because looking down has become such a strong pattern, I have a simple solution. Okay, it's in my pocket, right? But the solution, come into my hand a tiny bit, whoa, let the hip sink back a tiny, there you go. And what happened in her knee? It bent. What direction is it gonna go? Forward and down. When I push, forward and down. Right? So come into my hand a little, there you go. When I push, she goes forward, down. When I push, she goes forward, down. Did I have to tell her to look up? Did I have to tell her to find the ear, shoulder, hip, ankle line? Nope, it's already there. Next. Now, this surface is more unstable, right? So now it becomes more difficult, and she may or may not be ready for this, but we'll find out. Notice the arms. As soon as the instability, the arms are catching. Okay, think sit. There you go. It doesn't matter, does it? Now let your arms go, because she doesn't need them anymore. Okay, rest. Your quads might be burning. Okay, rest and we'll come back. So the alignment and stability create the relaxation in the shoulders and the looking up, not the other way around. I'll say that again. The balance and stability create the relaxation in the shoulders and looking up, not the other way around. But where do we mostly focus? Look up, shoulders back, sit up, instead of base of support. Okay, tiny fold over my front hand. Keep going. Like yesterday, keep going. Yeah, it's gonna feel really weird. Fold more. Yes. Okay, solid. Really nice. Next. And it feels weird, doesn't it? Fold, fold, keep going, keep going. Yep, now let your hips sink back.
Hip sink back.
Nope, that's changing your pelvis. Just let your hip sink back. There you go. Solid. Her foot slipped because of the sand. So there was less friction there than in the organization. Fold over my front hand. Yep, rest on my hand. That was tucking your pelvis. Let your hip just sink back. Rest on my hand. Yep. Now rest on my hand here. There you go. There we are right there. Did I have to tell her to look up? Do we have a line? Now she's pushing on me. So too much is too much, right? Rest. Next. Yep. Questions? So what are we taught to do against the stirrup? Brace. What does bracing do? Stiffen. What does stiffing do? Shoves us up in the saddle, makes us more unstable. Then we feel insecure. Then we grab on the reins. Then we're told to get our shoulders down and look up. Okay, think sit. Yep, tiny fold over my front hand. Let your belly go. Breathe between my two hands. Nice. Awesome. Right? And if I come from here, whoop, feel it, you change this, right? Just think of to your feet when I push. Very nice. Next, I can feel her heartbeat. Think sit. Yep. Yeah, so this got a little short, right? Right here. You have to think top of the pelvis back. Yeah, rest on my hand. Find me. Yes. And that's just the loss of friction, right? It's not the rider position that's the issue there. Okay, when I come here. Lovely. Okay, go to the old. Okay, next. It's not far away, is it? The old place, it was a very small change that she made when I said old place. It wasn't far away, but it was enough. Think sit. Yep, rest on my hand. Rest on my, that's it. Let your knees go a little forward. Yeah, feel how you came, whoop, you had it. Let the knees go forward. Forward, yes. It's okay, rest. It's a lot, right? I can feel the tiredness. So if we get tired, we're gonna have trouble because our muscles are like, who's next? Not a challenge, a success. Oops. Okay, because it's, you all, yeah, lovely. Rest on my hand. So that was this that you brought back, the upper body, but my hand's here. So you want to think rest the lower, there it is. Okay? And I don't have to say look up. And we have perfect ear, shoulder, hip, ankle line. Next. You know what? Step off for a second. We're going to get rid of the sand. Yeah. Oh, big difference. Yep. Now, just rest back. Yeah, breathe into my hand. Lovely. And I'm pushing way harder now than I pushed when you guys were in your old place. Okay? Because I can. I can push harder. Because as I push, you're directing, come back to my hand, come back to my hand, come back, 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 back. There. Nice. Now let your arms go. There we go. Because when I push, the forces are going to the ground and not, you're not bracing against it. Rest. I can feel it. You need a rest. Okay. So when you start to stiffen and I push, my force takes you up, away from the ground. Susan. But when you let the knees go forward down and receive the push, you actually send it to the ground and make yourself more secure. Does that make sense? Okay, tiny fold at the hip. Yep. Rest on my hand. And you can see, oops, it's okay. How quickly, now you threw your body forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you got to find my hand back here and think about my hand here and let your hips sink back a little. Yes? And when I come here, just,
Now you can push me.
there you go. Now you can see she's unsure, right? You can see the head kind of going forward a little bit because she's unsure. So we're going to go to the next one. Tiny fold. Yep. Rest on my hand. Very nice. Okay. So now when I push from the front, just think about your knees going toward the ground. Lovely. Right? And she just got super solid. And when I push on your back, you just think about your hips sinking back. Yep. And when I push on your front, send your knee. Lovely. And when I push on your back, and so now she's just redirecting the forces, whichever direction they're coming from, to the opposite. Okay? Tiny fold. You guys are doing awesome. This one's a challenge, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay? So we're going to rest because I can feel it's too much. So if we give you a challenge that's too much, more than you're ready for, we just go backwards. right? Doesn't go forwards. So we're going to rest. We'll come back to it. I want you to think about what you felt. Who's next? Now you've had 2 knee replacements, so of course it's like this idea of letting your knees do their job, kind of like what we saw with the canter yesterday, is kind of an interesting idea, isn't it? So you're going to fold over my front hand. Keep going. Yep. You're going to think sit a little. Awesome. You're just going to rest on my hand. There. Right there. Right? And notice what your breathing just did.
This is the position between ears, shoulder, and hip right now, and knee.
Yeah. But notice what your breathing did. It totally relaxed when she got there, right? Okay, next.
Because I didn't.
Because when you find it, how much effort does it take?
Less.
Yeah, like you guys are really not doing a whole lot, right? You're not, think sit a little. Yep, let the knees go forward a little. There you go. You're not trying to be strong. You are simply strong because you're giving direction to my push. Does that make sense? You're not resisting the force that I'm applying. You're letting it go through, and that makes you more stable. The minute you try to resist my push, either where I'm pushing or by stiffening somewhere else, think sit, find my hand, yeah, there you go. And there's going through your knees, and notice everything got quiet.
My toes are long.
Yeah, okay, step off and rest. But the minute you try to brace against the force, that's when you get in trouble instead of letting it go through. Who's next? Do we have any questions? Caitlin? It'll show up in the chat or the Q&A. Oh, good. Rest on my hand. So feel how you want to throw this back when I push. Tiny fold over my front hand. Yep. Just rest on my hand here. Keep the fold. Yep. Lovely. Nice. Right? Unfold. Sit up. Gone. The minute we hinge, that we can't direct to the ground. Right? We lose the ability, tiny fold, to ground. Hip stay back. Yeah. Now you can feel there's a wavering right here. Like we find it and lose it and find it and lose it. So just breathe into my hand. Stay in my hand. Stay in my hand. Stay in my hand. Stay there. Nope, you leave. There you go. You have to stay. Nice. Next. So this is where the lower back is long, solid, right, and stable. Think sit. Sit. Like sit up. There you go. Nice. Now we're going to cook your quads. So just come up. Straight. Yep. There you go. Nice. Feel it? Mm-hmm. So how much you bend the knee is determining your stirrup length. Like if she squats down really low, we're in jumping length. If we're more open, we're in dressage length. If you go into a deep bend, you're going to cook your quads really fast. Right? And in jumping, where you should feel it is in the quads, not in the joints. Right? If you're working on your jumping position strengthening, this is where you want to feel it, not in the ankles. Tiny fold. Yep. Thanks. Sit. Yep. Let the knees go a little forward. Whoa, right there. Rest on my hand. Nice. Come right back to me. Yeah. And it feels like you're falling backwards, doesn't it? Right? Because if, now go a little forward, and she's ahead of her knees, and she's going to be gone. Right? So you have to come back, and there it is. So it's really important that you come back, and so many riders want to be a bit forward, right? Next. You guys as a group actually are really good. I've had whole groups where coming back into my hand was like near impossible. So I can feel your good efforts.
It is more,
Yeah.
much more, I don't know, pushing it out small on my back.
Yes. Okay, and now when I come from here, just think knees forward. Come into my hand. Come into my hand. There you go. Nice. Right? If you lean back at this moment, lean back a little. Right? So come into my hand. Yep, there. Whoops, think sit. Yep. Into my hand. Yes. Nice. Next. So this is kind of like, my balance trail is like a proof of the pudding of concept, right? That if concept is clear, then we need to sit. Think sit. Yeah, there you go. It's okay. You can feel your quads having a little argument, right? Yeah, rest. So when I see you kind of going up and down, it's the quads complaining. Or the knees. Yeah, somebody's like, I can't hold this. That's fine. There's no point in fighting it. It's like all you want to do is a moment of feeling it, right? If you can have a moment of feeling it, your nervous system will start seeking it out because it recognizes, your nervous system is designed to recognize safety and stability. Hello. Yeah, nice. Now, you just need to think, sit a little. Nope, not change the pelvis, just sit down. Yeah. Feel that? That's solid. Okay, now we've got the cat helping.
He's tickling me.
Okay, so here's where I'm going to use my handy dandy helper for looking up.
Oh.
There you go.
Oh my God.
So just look at the camera so they can see. These are my look-up glasses designed to keep you from looking down because no value, right? Yeah, notice how that's changed the balance of her head. Let your knees go forward. There you go. But look at how different that is suddenly. She drops in. So if I do find a student that the pattern is so strong and feeling the base still isn't quite enough, that changes everything, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Okay, next. You can look down to step. The sand makes it a little slippy. Okay, let your knees go a little forward. Yep, rest on my hand. Nice, right? And if I push here, you're just, yeah, super. So I can push, yep, feel you kind of braced up a little bit.
Go to the next one. So.
Yep, just think sit, there, don't change the pelvis, there. Now, tilt the pelvis under, tuck,
Good.
right? Cannot stop me because now the forces are not grounding. Okay, hollow the back a little, arch it. Other way.
Oh,
there you go. And feel that, right? Because again, she can't take my force to the ground. So fill out, let the knees go forward. Yeah, awesome. And you can feel there's a little argument in there, right? The right side's like, I want to do driving the car.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it's the right leg wants to do a little straightening instead of really receiving, but that's okay. Let the knees go forward. Nope, you don't need to tuck the pelvis, just let the knees go forward. That's the pelvis you're tucking. Might be too much. Rest. It's okay. You need a rest because as we go to a more unstable surface, if you're fatigued, it's not going to help, right? Who's next? So we're just going to make this a little better. Yep. Okay, start there. Because you're really, really close. I just have to put these somewhere in my pocket. The tendency is to lean back a tiny bit with your upper body, so fold over my front hand. Yep, think sit. There you go. And feel that's even better, isn't it? Okay, next. And the change is so little. It's just a tiny bit more fold and a tiny bit more knees forward. Yep. Don't let me push. She's in a hurry now. She's like, I got it. I'm going. Fold. Knees. Knees forward. 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 Yeah. Stay there. And feel we couldn't do this before, right? And now this is great. So now when I push from the front, knees. Whoop.
Yep.
Knees. Yeah, it's okay. Find it here. Rest on my hand. Yes. Knees forward. Okay, rest. Go to the next one. Oh yeah, and this will be a piece of cake, right? So when we get to a more stable surface, it's like instant. Next. Who's next? So now, what is the classical alignment that they all tell us we should have? Ear, shoulder, hip, ankle. Ear is the atlanto-occipital joint. There is the joint where your skull meets your spine. So that's really what's between your ears. Shoulder is the shoulder joint. Hip is the hip joint. Heel is actually ankle joint. So when we go to heel, as opposed to ankle, we already have the foot forward, and now we've got more of a pendulum going. Tiny fold. Yep, let the knees, yep. You gotta let me, oh, that's nice. Okay, next. We'll see if we can go through. Yeah, the sand definitely makes those harder. Yep, solid, solid. And you see when I push from the front, did you see how the knees went forward? It's not that she's pushing her knees forward, it's that she's directing my force. Come back first. Just think sit. So here I push through the knees, but here the knees just go forward, and here it's lovely, right? Next. And I push a lot harder on you guys when you're stable than when you're not stable, because I can. You let me know if this is too much. Knees forward. There you go. Yep. Nice. And you could feel that first reaction was stiffen, and then you went sink. Next. Tiny fold. Yeah. Whoop. That's okay. Now that you're on a more stable, there it is. Right? Wait. We're going to bring these closer together. Okay. So in the end, the joint that is supposed to do the job of dealing with the surface is the ankles. It's the ankle's job to be able to, if you don't want to do it, you don't have to.
Try.
There is no try, there is only do. Okay, think sit, let the knees go. Knees forward, knees forward, knees forward. Yeah, it's too hard, step off. You can feel that it's too much, right? And so there's,
Knees.
yeah, no, and we're gonna skip that because that's too hard on the knees. Go to the soft. Nice. Fortunately on the saddle, the knees are not under the same stress as here on the ground because the horse is carrying your weight, right? You're sitting on the horse. So you're not having to stabilize against the ground, right? So, yeah, I think we're gonna wrap that up. That's a great place. So if anybody has enjoyed the balance trail, just let me know. We'll pop this up onto YouTube. And thank you all for joining me today, and have a fabulous day. We'll see you next week.